If you can please take your seat, so we. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we'd like to call our meeting to order for Monday, December 18, 2017. We'd like to begin with our meeting tonight with a ceremonial activities announcement. And that's in your agenda, item number 1, the Ontario Employer Designation, presentation of Chief and the Chief as well.
Is my 5th time presenting the award. So how many of you know about the award, the designation? Show of hands. So I will dispense with my 26-minute speech. But I will have to read some of it. Thanks for making the time, Councillor. By the Council for Experiential Learning. The previous times that I was here, we were called the Provincial Partnership Council, but I think by changing it for the Council for Experiential Learning, it's a little more meaningful. We're a volunteer council and an advisory committee to the Ministry of Education to encourage employers across the province to participate in a range of school and other experiential learning. When I look at the Ottawa Police Services and the amount of work that you put in on a daily basis and doing these cooperative education, experiential learning, I tell everybody that there's no excuse for other organizations not to do this. In 2010, this award was developed because we used to give one-off awards to organizations that had co-op programs or any type of experiential learning. We started to realize there were some organizations that were doing extraordinary efforts in significant numbers. So in order for you to get this designation, you've accumulated a total of 50 points, which is quite a bit of work. This is the 6th year I publicly challenged Director General Fraser at the Mayor's Breakfast that I would like to present this award on the 10th year. So I have to live that long and make sure I continue my hot yoga. As somebody who lives in Ottawa and I see the work that you do, having students at a very impressionable age come and work with the police services, I think it speaks volumes. So it gives me phenomenal pleasure to present you this award. I do it with pride as a council member, but also as an Ottawan. So, Chief, here we go, and there's going to be a... votre lettre. Bienvenue.
Steve, just on behalf of the police service, and I want to thank you very much for receiving this very cold award in my hands. Our organization, our co-op program is near and dear to our hearts. All the stuff we do with our high schools is really important. You look at other jurisdictions and they're moving away from the relationship between police and youth and in schools. I think it's a tremendous error that they're doing. In Ottawa, we'll continue to do everything we can to make sure that we're building relationships with young people in the schools, and having a co-op program in our police services is extremely important and part of that initiative. So, merci beaucoup. Merci.
That hardware should go to the Deputy Chief's office, so I agree. Congratulations to all our members with the Ottawa Police for the honor. Folks, we do have, before we confirm the agenda, we have a new item of we like to add on, and it is that in accordance with the Section 11, Subsection 3, Procedures Bylaw Number 3 of 2014, the Ottawa Police Service Board add to the agenda an amendment of the false alarm reduction bylaw of the Ottawa Police Service Board. So there's an item we need to add to our agenda. On the item, okay? Thank you. So we'll come back to this item on the end of our agenda. Confirmation of minute of November 27, that the Ottawa Police Service Board confirmed the minutes of 27 November 2017. On the minute, Kerry? Confirmed. Thank you. Declaration of interest. So we had a committee meeting in the last month, and we had two actually, but one of them will present, because it was too late to send with the agenda. The P&G will be presenting in January's meeting, but a little bit about the Human Resource Committee. The Human Resource Committee met on January 24th. The committee received a presentation on go-forward framework for diversifying the OPS sworn workforce. The committee also received the final report of the gender equality audit, which went before the full board at the November 27 meeting. That's a little bit of update on the Human Resource Committee. Can we receive that? Please receive. Thank you. Inquiries, and we have inquiries. Sorry.
Thank you. This is following up on the Human Resources Committee meeting we had. I'd like to put forward an inquiry with respect to the recruiting practices. If I can get this information at some point in the future or brought back to the board, I'd like to find out in the last year, how many sworn applications did we receive, and of those, how many were male, female, or racialized? And I'm wondering if you're able to go back and look at the applications that were rejected and find out what the proportion was in terms of how many applications we got from males and how many were rejected from males, how many from females, how many from racialized. So we can just compare if we're, see if we're getting a disproportionate number of one group or another that are not making it through. And I'd be interested to know if we can figure out at what step in the process they are being rejected, if that's possible. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Item number 1, item business, is Chief verbal report, so we can hold item number 1. Item number 2 is purchase of conducted energy weapon. Chief's report that the Ottawa Police Service Board approved the sole source purchase of 140 conducted energy weapon X2 model from MD Shelton Company Ltd at the cost of $265,290.20, inclusive of all taxes. And the question, or do you want to hold this item?
Yeah, I think I'll just have a question on it.
Okay. So we'll hold. Item number 3 is the discretionary fund 2017 annual report, executive director report, that the Ottawa Police Service Board received this report for information. On the item, received? Received, thank you. Item number 4 is appointment of a special constable, Ottawa Police Service. That the Ottawa Police Service Board approved the appointment of Andre Posvat as a special constable pursuant to Section 53 of the Police Service Act in accordance with the term and conditions set forth in the approval appointment form. On the item, carried?
Carried.
Okay. Item number 5 is appointment of a special constable, Ottawa Police Service, that the Ottawa Police Service Board approved the appointment of Benjamin Split as a special constable pursuant to Section 53 of the Police Service Act in accordance with the term and conditions set forth in the approval appointment form. An item? Okay.
Carried.
Item number 6 is Service Initiative Quarterly Update, that the Ottawa Police Service Board received this report for information. This is the quarterly SI report. Okay, thank you very much. See. Item number 7, report on SIU investigation, that the Ottawa Police Service Board received this report for information. Thank you. Item number 8, it's outstanding board inquiries and motion, December 2017, that the Ottawa Police Service Board received this report for information. See? Item number 9 is the letters of commendation. and the Ottawa Police Service Board received this report for information. Thank you. So we'll go to item number 1, and it's the Chief's verbal report. Chief.
Good evening, bonsoir à tous. Mr. Chair, I want to begin this evening by wishing all of you a Merry Christmas, and to you and your families, and all the best for 2018 on behalf of the police service. This weekend, we saw the last major event of Canada 2017 with the Winter Classic. It was a very busy year for Ottawa and our service, and I want to thank all the members of our service who ensured public safety during this and so many other events this past year. There are many individuals to thank for their work, but I also want to make a special mention of Superintendent Joan McKenna, Inspector Murray Knowles, Staff Sergeant Kevin Kennedy, Staff Sergeant Russ Lucas, and Sergeants Darren Elder and Mark Nethercott, who were the officers responsible for planning all the events for us. And sadly, this weekend, we were called to a fatal collision this weekend in the East End. The investigation into that event has resulted in impaired driving charges against a 33-year-old man. With the holiday season upon us, it's important to remind residents that if you drink, don't drive. We are running our annual Mega Ride program again this year with our partners, checking on all drivers throughout Ottawa for indications of impairment. I want to note again congratulations to the investigators from the Guns and Gangs Unit for the successful completion of Project Sabotage. This 6-month investigation resulted in the arrest of 13 people, with more arrests pending. 24 guns were taken off our streets, and criminal networks were disrupted. We also seized cocaine, fentanyl patches, hydromorphone pills. And getting the guns off our streets and arresting those responsible is the result of some very solid police work. I can tell you that enforcement efforts will continue to ensure our streets are safe from those who wish to cause harm. But we also know that we can't arrest our way out of the guns and streets violence issues in our city. That's why the work we do with our community partners is so important to help eliminate these threats from our streets. Crime Prevention Ottawa unveiled its update to Ottawa's refreshed street violence and gang strategy at the start of December. Inspector Mark Patterson and our strategic youth specialist Jessica Ripley joined other city partners in helping to develop a new plan that will consider the growing complexities and needs of our community and neighborhoods. And it's our partnerships that help us to develop new strategies for some of the service's top priorities, like violence against women. I'm proud to say that we launched the Domestic Review Panel last week and will launch the Sexual Assault Panel in January. The purpose of this work is to put a different professional perspective on our investigative processes in an effort to serve victims better. Mr. Chair, one of the reports on this agenda highlights our replacement purchase of conducted energy weapons. These devices continue to assist our officers in resolving volatile situations. Earlier this past Friday morning, officers responded to a call from a man who told 911 that he had a gun and was going to shoot someone. When they arrived, officers were confronted by the man, who insisted with the officers on scene to put 2 bullets in his chest. The man reached under his coat, and Staff Sergeant Gord Burns used a conducted energy weapon device to subdue him. The man was taken to hospital for a mental health assessment. The use of the CW prevented what could have been otherwise a very tragic ending for all involved. And finally, our robbery unit continues to deliver excellent work. In November, the unit investigated a series of 7 bank robberies, along with 1 pharmacy robbery that officers believe were committed by the same person. The unit identified a male suspect and a known female associate. On November 30th, both suspects were arrested separately, and the robbery unit executed search warrants at 3 different addresses. Sufficient evidence was gathered to charge the man in connection with all 8 robberies and the female associate in relation to the pharmacy robbery. The male suspect was also wanted on a Canada-wide warrant in relation to breaching conditions of parole. Mr. Chair, that concludes my verbal report.
Thank you very much, Chief, and I would like to also, on behalf of our board, add our congratulations to all the men and women of the Ottawa Police Service for the success of the Operation Sabotage. It was really a good success story, and less guns off our street and less drugs as well. So with that, any question? Can you turn your mic on? No question to the chief? Okay, on the chief's verbal report, receive. Thank you. And that'll take us, Chief, to item number 2, which is you just talk about the purchase of the conduct energy weapons. So we have a question from the Vice Chair.
Thank you. I just wondered, in your discussion, you mentioned that you're going to bring forward a report to the board, and it'll summarize the results of consultation on the matter with respect to the CEWs. And I just wondered if that would include, you mentioned the ultimate goal of enhancing public and officer safety. So will you be able to bring forward something showing evidence of how the role that they played? And I think you just did in your earlier report. But I'd be interested, given that we have very scarce resources and these will be very expensive, I'd like to know sort of the benefit of spending the money on those versus, say, additional de-escalation training or something like that. So if that could be part of the report, that'd be great.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, part of the commitment we made to the board was to come back because you had approved with the new provincial widening of who we could issue the CWs to. We committed to coming back to the board with the evaluation of that rollout, and that is coming to the board in February. And we do have substantial evidence to demonstrate the increase in officer safety, how quickly we can get a weapon to the scene as opposed to what we could before, and we'll be able to demonstrate the effectiveness of the weapon, and that there is value for money with respect to reduce injuries, reduce safety concerns for the public and our officers.
Thank you. Any other question from my colleague? Chief, just on, we understand this item on the front of us basically to replace some product we have, but also, you know, in it says we are consulting the community. In the past, the report went specifically to a group and has some consultation. Who you'll be consulting with this time on this item from the public consultation?
Mr. Chair, this item that's before the board is strictly to replace 140 devices that are ending of life of cycle. However, the other part is the other report will include some consultation with the groups that we had initially consulted with when we chose to request an expansion of the program.
So we'll be the same group basically we consulted with in the past.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
And that will be part of your report coming to this board.
That's correct, in February.
Okay. Thank you very much. On the item, Claire? Thank you very much. And the last item we add, and just to put it in a little bit of context, it is the false alarm bylaw, and what we add to this one, and I think I can maybe ask the Director General to answer the question if we do have about this. Is usually, excuse me. This is an item usually come to us right after we pass our budget, because it's always subject to our budget being passed. So I'm hoping with the changes we made, it can address some of those concerns. Let me read this. The Ottawa Police Service Board approved the Ottawa Police Service Board bylaw number 2 of 2017, being a bylaw to amend section 12 of bylaw number 1 of 2010, entitled A Bylaw of the City of Ottawa Police Service Board Establishing a System of Registration of Security Alarm System and Reduction of False Alarms. As amended, is amended by striking out the expression a fee of $140 where it's occurred, then by substituting the expression a fee as set and approved in the current annual budget in the fee schedule appendix plus any applicable taxes therefore. So basically, if we adopt this bylaw, we don't have to adopt every budget cycle. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. It's a more effective way to govern the annual inflation-based increase in the false alarm bylaw.
And our legal staff share in this thought as well, obviously preparing this amendment. So any question? Basically just amend our bylaw to reflect more. Okay, on the item, Carrie? Okay. Thank you very much, folks. With that, that will conclude our portion of the public meeting. I'd like to wish everyone, and all the men and women and everyone, a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday to all of you. Have a good evening.